We have David Larson here with us today. David, great to have you here.
Yes, it is.
And he is with the American Brain Council. What does that mean?
Well, the American Brain Council was organized just about 5 years ago. There is a ton of research going on in the world on brain health. It's one of the hottest topics in the world. But unfortunately, most of that research ends up in journals that nobody sees and language that few people understand. And so our organization was set up to share with the public the essence of that, the most practical information from that research that they can apply in their lives, particularly having to do with the brain and particularly depression, dementia.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So educational foundation.
We have an epidemic of dementia, it seems
Exactly.
like.
That's right. That's a term that's we hear more frequently all the time, that it's become a real epidemic throughout the world that can bankrupt this country and others if we don't do something to arrest that soon.
Dementia and Alzheimer's is just, and cancer, of course, has always been that big word, but dementia and Alzheimer's is scary to people.
Oh, yes, and rightfully so.
Yes.
And is there anything we can do to push it back, to keep it from overtaking us?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that question. If you just listen to the secular media, you can get the idea that there is nothing that you can do to prevent or mitigate Alzheimer's or other types of cognitive decline. But the reality is that there is much that we can do to reduce that risk. And that's what we're about, trying to make the public aware of those things. In the American Brain Council, we've identified 7 pillars of brain health. And if you have just a minute, I'd like to go through them with you.
We want to get your notepad out, everybody. Get ready to take. I see them. They got their notepads ready. Here we go.
The first one really is exercising trust in God and His guidance. Because He created our bodies. He knows what can arrest or prevent Alzheimer's and other age-related cognitive decline. And He shared much of that in Scripture.
Yes.
Like in the story of Daniel, for example.
That's right.
If you look at the story of Daniel, you'll learn that nutrition is one of the most important things for the brain.
That's right.
And that is our principle number 2. You've got to get a good diet and good nutrition into our bodies. As we age, our bodies reduce their ability to assimilate nutrients, and oftentimes seniors don't eat the best diets in the first place, and they don't digest their food well, and they don't absorb the nutrients well. And so nutrition is critically important for health in seniors, and particularly for brain health. The next principle is physical activity. Even if you eat the best diet and you take appropriate nutrients or supplements or whatever, if you can't get those circulated to your brain, they're not going to do much good. And so we need to stay physically active. Physical activity helps to increase or improve digestion of the nutrients and then circulate those to the brain. Physical activity does a variety of things, but it also increases BDNF. It's like somebody or some people have said miracle grow for the brain. It helps the brain literally grow new brain cells. And then we need to stay mentally and socially engaged, mentally active and socially engaged, because the brain needs to have demands placed upon it to learn new things. That helps it to absorb those nutrients that we get from our diet, and lay down new pathways for memories, and that mental activity. It's been said that the brain is a use it or lose it organ.
Yeah.
If we're not using our brain, learning new things, we're going to lose those abilities. The next pillar in our 7 pillars of brain health has to do with neurotoxins in our environment. There are, unfortunately, the increase in Alzheimer's and other disorders aren't just because we're getting older. That's a bit of a myth. Certainly that's that's one of the leading contributors to that, aging, but there's also a host of other neurotoxins in our environment, in our food and otherwise. There are heavy metals, mercury, aluminum. Fish, one of the best things for the brain, unfortunately, if you're not careful, can have mercury in it. And there's a variety of other toxins, automobile exhaust. There's mycotoxins from molds that we can get. There's pesticides and herbicides and glyphosate and other things that are just not healthy for our body. There are over 200 medications. A study from Johns Hopkins found that there are over 200 medications that can have an adverse effect on the brain and memory. So, host of neurotoxins. If you have a head injury, that contributes to that. And then stress management is very important. When we're stressed, we have...
Now, how do we deal with that?
You probably know a little bit about that.
I might know a little something, honey.
Yeah, I'm
you're
sure.
Stress management, everybody.
It increases cortisol in the brain that is toxic to, actually, in the hippocampus, the memory center of the brain. Too much cortisol over time can cause serious damage and death to those brain cells. So stress management is important. So the quotes that you had earlier, don't be anxious from the scriptures, etc. And that goes back to pillar number 1. Trust in God is certainly important that way. Develop an attitude of gratitude is essential for that, and forgiveness of others, etc. But and prayer, etc., has been shown to be of tremendous value in reducing stress in life. And finally, getting a good night's sleep is critical.
Oh, yes.
You can do all of the above, but if you're not getting at least 6 or 7 hours of sleep, we find people just don't get better until they get that part fixed. And there's a variety of things that can help.